The annual Buenos Aires Book Fair opens to muted applause, and evidence is beginning to emerge that Milei and Caputo's much-lauded fiscal surplus may be nothing more than a sleight of hand. Welcome to A Bloke in Buenos Aires, presenting news and views in English from the capital of Argentina. Please feel free to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. The 48th Buenos Aires International Book Fair opened its doors this week at La Rural Exhibition Center in Palermo. It will run from April 25th until May 13th. The opening speech was given by Liliana Heker, a major figure in Argentine literature for many decades, who heavily criticized the austerity policies of President Milei's government. She talked about the rising levels of poverty and destitution and the funding crises in education and public health. Heker suggested that funding for the arts and science was being withdrawn for political reasons rather than simply economic necessity. The annual book fair is usually a space for literary discussion, and the effects and motives of the current government will be a theme for much debate. For the government's part, they have chosen not to present their usual stand at the fair, citing budget cuts, but perhaps to avoid unpleasant public confrontations. President Milei himself is planning to visit the literary fair on May 12th to present his latest book, and tensions are expected to be high. Earlier this month, in another assault on Argentina's cultural life, President Milei's government closed the National Institute for Cinema and Audiovisual Arts. This is said to be a temporary closure for reorganization, and the more than 500 employees were told their services would no longer be needed until further notice. The institute is administrated by the Culture Secretariat, which itself was downgraded from a ministry back in December, and now falls under the administration of the Ministry of Human Capital. The institute exists, or existed, to support various kinds of audiovisual productions, and amongst its beneficiaries have been 8 Oscar-nominated movies and 2 winners. But I suppose the cultural life of Argentina is too expensive for support from a technocratic government who only see numbers on spreadsheets. President Milei and Finance Minister Luis Caputo have been shouting from the rooftops about their apparent rapid successes in turning the economy around. Even better than they had expected, they said. During the first quarter of 2024, the Treasury's books balanced in the black for the first time in 12 years. This was done by a combination of government layoffs, slashing of subsidies, and cuts to welfare payments and government assistance. This austerity package has hit hardest on pensioners and the very, very poor. But all of this makes the spreadsheets look good and will help to obtain international loans. However, it seems that some savings may only exist on paper and have been made by simply delaying payments of bills and other essentials. Energy companies are complaining that their bills haven't been paid since Milei took office, and also that his government is refusing to pay outstanding energy bills owed by previous governments. Central government discretionary transfers to provincial governors have been put on hold due to a dispute over their use, and so won't appear in this first quarter's budget, even though they will eventually have to be paid. And the Ministry of Human Capital under Sandra Pettevejo has, to give just one example, cut funding to things like soup kitchens for the poor, saying that the system will be replaced to avoid corrupt practices, but then not replacing the system, effectively cutting expenditure but leaving very poor people with nothing to eat since December. If you don't pay your bills, of course you'll have money left in the kitty, but a lot of these costs will have to be paid eventually and will appear on the spreadsheets somewhere down the road. Every news report has some kind of bias, and it's often frustratingly difficult to get a balanced view. Ground News is a website and app that gathers all the world's media in one place so you can compare coverage. Ground News lets you see the story behind the story, using data-driven analysis that looks at things like the political bias, reliability, and ownership of news outlets. To get a 40% discount off a subscription to Ground News, click on the link in the description below. Thanks for watching. If you like the video, please give it a like and subscribe to see more similar content. And if you want to support the channel, you can buy me a coffee in the link below. And until next time, que tengas un buen día.